Oh, yeah, this like a minute ago I talked about this crappy movie, and now I will talk about the movies that I watched directly straight after it. That's this one. This means Teki, and the English title is maybe the silliest English translation of a title ever, because they called it Teki Cometh, and like, no English speaker knows what a Teki is. A Teki is an enemy. Yeah, you could have called it The Enemy Is Coming or whatever. Yeah, not sure what to think of that, but the movie is much better than Faceless, so feel that's German, so much spoiler ahead. But I watched it after this 2 hour suffering through a very mediocre movie, and then I get into this like literally 5 minutes later, and you've got this let's see if we can find a nice picture here. You get to this very much black and white slow burn kind of slice of life-ish movie about an old man living his life. Yeah, it's a challenge, I would say. This old man is played by Kyozo Nagatsuka. Funnily enough, his most popular movie on Letterboxd is a movie called Demon Within, which is pretty funny. It's like a little trashy horror movie. But he was in Luminous Woman by Shinji Somai, which I still haven't watched, but that's a very good one. And yeah, then supporting cast is not that important. It's mostly about him. The other people pop in and out when they're needed. But yeah, we've got Yumi Kawai, who added another very good movie to her last year, which was very good in general. Here she plays a very small role, but it's very nice to see her on screen. Then we have Kumitake Uchi, who was, for example, in A Grateful Dead, which is a very fun movie by a very fun director, Eiji Uchida, who seemingly got very much into very serious dramas, and I would love to see him do some more fun stuff than serious dramas. Like his last movie, I forgot the title, it looked so bad. Like the few before that, still good, still fun. I enjoyed them a lot, but the last one just looked like crap. No idea. Anyway, then we have Asuka Kurosawa, who was actually the main actress in A Snake of June by my favorite director, Shinya Tsukamoto, and she was in Silence by Martin Scorsese. Very nice. And then we have Ayumu Nakajima, who was in Happy End last year, one of my favorite movies, I would say. And he was in Desert of Namibia, and he was in Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy, so good. And we have Shinsuke Kato, for example, in A Man, very, very good. Or Onoda, still haven't watched that. I should, and A Small, Slow But Steady, some other stuff. Anyway, that's easy, like main cast, let's say it like that. But it is important is the main character. The character's name is Gisuke, and he's a retired college professor. He's a teacher for French literature, and he's living alone at home after his wife passed away. And yeah, he lives a nice, comfortable life, and has his routines, and we follow these routines, and it's like I said, very, very slow, takes a time, and one could say it's a bit boring, but that's the point of the thing, because we know the enemy. The trailer tells us that the enemy will come, and we're all very excited for the coming enemy. Yeah, so what's going on here? It's a very strange movie. I felt very, very during the screening, because for some time it looks like it's one of those movies where you have a guy who's already older, and he's like pretty old. Like usually they're like in their 50s, like midlife crisis guys who are somehow a little bit more of the intellectual type, and they're like the dudes are very, very popular with the ladies, and they get everything they want. They are so cool and smart, and it feels a little bit like if they tried to do that with a more like grandfather type of guy, and it's very uncomfortable. Like he gets one of his former students comes to visit him, and she's like, "Oh, I've got news, I'm getting divorced." Yeah, or he goes to this bar where the owner's niece works, that's Yumi Kawai, and she's super interested into French literature, and she would like to come over to his house to try his cooking, and it's all a little bit and yeah, all the stuff. He's very successful. He's writing for some magazine and so on, and it's all very uncomfortable, and it's all in black and white. There's very little music. It's all very slow, and it's a bit of a challenge to get through. I would say it's maybe half the movie. It's 108 minutes long, and I would say about half of it maybe you will be a little bit challenged. After that it will still be challenging, but suddenly it becomes very interesting, very different, and pretty funny. I was surprised by the sense of humor that the movie displayed suddenly. And yeah, to really talk about what makes this movie good, we have to get some spoilers. So yeah, there's not so much else that I can say. It's a pretty simple, minimalist movie for the most time. It goes in a very different direction than you might expect. And yeah, for example, someday his computer tells him the enemy is coming. Usually he just gets spam mails, and of course he's very smart. He puts them away and doesn't care about them. Just delete, and then this email on enemy. Okay, as enemy, delete. But it comes back, and more weird things happen, and it all becomes a bit surreal. Let's say it like that. I think it's a very good movie, and I would highly recommend watching it. But maybe it's good to not know what I'm about to talk. So yeah, if you're interested in it and you want to give it an unspoiled chance, just turn off here, and I hope you will enjoy it. If you want to know what it's about, or maybe you have already watched it and you just want my opinion, let's keep going. Spoilers from now. I think it's still probably enjoyable if you know what's coming, but just to be safe, spoilers. So like I said, it's a very strange movie. All these ladies come, and he seems very popular, and his job, and the strange enemy, what's going on? And he goes to the doctor. I guess it was a endoscopy, like where they put stuff in his butt, and stuff like that. And suddenly, for example, one day he goes back to the doctor, and they want to check his poo-poo hole again, and suddenly there's a female doctor, and he feels slightly uncomfortable. Well, of course, he would never say that. No, he's a very nice old man, and he doesn't do sexist stuff. He's good. He's a good boy. So he's like, okay, no, we can do that. And then she's like, yeah. Here, do like on all fours like a dog. And he does it, and he gets tied up, and suddenly he probably gets penetrated from behind. Very similar to Tetsuo by Shinya Tsukamura. It's very strange and very funny. Yeah, but they obviously play with his manlyhood, and this discomfort of being challenged in his manlyhood. because now doctor does something, puts something in his butthole, and yeah, real men don't do that, right? And yeah, we get other stuff like that. This former student who comes to meet him comes back, and she's like, oh, and I think she's falling asleep on his couch, so he wants to put a blanket on her. She wakes up and she's like, oh, what do you think we're doing from now on? And he's like, and she's like, oh, do you like sex? And he's like, oh, yes. And she's like, okay, you've got 15 minutes to do the job. And it suddenly becomes very surreal. And we notice that it was more like a fantasy. And yeah, all these weird things happen. And at some point it gets very obvious that most of it is not real. This whole thing with the enemy who's coming is most likely not so real, but it's all in his head. And basically, this movie questions and challenges this whole identity of this guy. Like one scene, he's talking to the student how they approached each other when he was a teacher, and she's like, nowadays you would call that harassment. And he's like, oh no, don't destroy my lovely good memories from these good old times. But she's like, no, that's harassment. That's not good. That's not nice. You shouldn't be like that. Yeah, but these things, or like I said, the doctor thing. And yeah, basically we just see this man completely breaking down and his mental state getting completely destroyed, corrupted. He's just going crazy, and doesn't take a good end with him, let's say that. But yes, it's very interesting to see this very stereotypical, like probably a 70-year-old guy wanting to date 20-year-old girls. So this Yumi Kawai story doesn't end well for him either. So basically his whole life just breaks down, and this identity gets what it deserves, one would say. Someone might say it's pretty nasty, pretty depressing, but in many ways very funny, very interesting. Makes you at least think about some things, and it's very nice to see that someone plays with the tropes like that, and it's surprisingly entertaining. And I believe if I would have watched it in a more in a better state of mind, not after a pretty bad movie, I would have enjoyed it even more. Maybe with some more sleep or caffeine, it would have been pretty nice. Funnily enough, when I saw it at the cinema, there were only old men like the protagonist. Probably they were like, oh, let's watch a movie about us, and if they get a portrayal like that, probably they weren't that pleased. So maybe the movie did everything right, and it's very good. It's very well worth watching. But I think that's all I want to say about it today. Maybe someday I will come back to it. I'm sure there's much more going on, and there's much more you could analyze, but I would have to watch it again, and now there's no option to do that. So let's just give a recommendation for this very interesting movie. Thank you very much, and have a nice day, and see you soon. Bye.